Part 2 of Organized Crime Handbook, a walkthrough of various families, starting with White Tiger Russian Liquor and moving through the Men in Black crime family. As before, there are modifications to this that have not been authorized, and with no access to the original, I cannot figure out which are which. Numerous content edited has been put back in, additional content added, possibly some elements removed. I hope you enjoy. White Tiger Russian Liquor. It is common for White Tiger Russian and Chinese and the Russian mob to seize control of all drug trafficking in their area. Men in Black, as I have been able to figure out, take over rather than control drug operations, preferring to assume control of others' drug operations rather than set up their own. For these groups, drug trafficking includes control of alcohol and caffeine. The purpose of this racket is to establish artificial shortages of access to these popular legal drugs, establishing a vibrant black market in the good stuff. In alcohol, the term I have invented for the drinks that appear to contain alcohol but do not is Russian liquor. This is named after the White Tiger Russian mob wars of the late Yeltsin era, where countless Russians died of alcoholism, where the majority were individuals that drank non-alcoholic drinks laced with the poisons of choice by those that had targeted them in return for a lessening of the severity of their torment. The fighting was so fierce that a major reduction in the life expectancy of Russians occurred during this time. The only hard and fast rule for Russian liquor is that it has anything other than alcohol, frequently a poisoning vector for torturers with a bevy of poisons specific to this form of counterfeit product. The racket has many components. It is established in White Tiger groups during the transition to Stage 4 domination. Initially, only specific mob institutions sell Russian liquor patronized exclusively by mobsters in the area that have mafia stones, permanent punishments, that Russian liquor is the only form of liquor they are permitted and must buy it if it is available. The first system-wide aspect to go under is usually the distribution networks, where groups that purchase indirectly their alcohol find that the only suppliers are mob control groups providing Russian liquor, unless they pay black market rates to have real alcohol substituted. With control of prosecution typical of a level 3 domination, these substitutions are nearly impossible to prosecute or even effectively complain about. Utilizing these controls, bars outside of mob control are driven out of business as they are either targeted for selling fake liquor if containment breaks and investigations start, or they are driven bankrupt by a combination of racketeering and specialized mob firms that have paid large sums up front to the mob to provide nearly all guests real liquor. Likewise, breweries that direct sell find their distributors will not distribute real versions of their products, only counterfeits, if they do not agree to sell into the system of only providing black market customers. Obviously, traditional mob purchases, forcing owners out without pay if they do not sell at ridiculously low prices, is typical of all businesses during a transition from Stage 3 to Stage 4, including bars and breweries. Once control has been established, local breweries are asked to participate in the system at a more extreme level. While special mob companies specialize in counterfeits typically do exist, mob groups prefer the volume of having the breweries produce primarily Russian liquor themselves, producing rather small batches of real liquor for the black market as their distributor dictates. This is typically the last stage in the takeover of the alcohol markets. In addition to removing alcohol, a major part of Russian liquor is destroying the brand name of the target companies, unless they pay appropriate protection fees to the correct mob infrastructure. Special bad version of products that are created to perform these tasks that taste horrible in addition to containing no alcohol and possibly other poisonous substances. Beer appears to be custom batches that may or may not be from the original brewery. In wine, this typically involves cutting real bottles of wine. Originally, wine from Murdoch wineries in Martinborough, New Zealand were a popular choice, adding strong tannins and aromatic bite to the label of the wine in the process. This has been supplanted by a new compound that is not wine at all, but a completely aromatic substance that, when located in the top 0.75 inches of air, completely evaporates in 30 minutes, removing all traces of substances from the samples taken from effective bottles that are not airtight. This allows the tasting or testing to show no signs while the experience contains the original cut wine. Additional versions use lesser wines with a flavor enhancer that approximates the wine on the bottle, but not if drank in 30 minutes or so, most of the desirable quantities of the wine evaporating like the above substance, only across the entire bottle. There is typically truth in advertising consisting with the White Tiger ethos. Labels are usually correct, so labels with wildly different descriptions of the content than the original's flavor are typically counterfeit. Likewise, beers and other liquors that have death or poison in their title are the first to have dangerous substances laced into them. Cheap liquors are poisoned before expensive ones, but there is no guarantee on quality or alcohol content. Backdoor purchases are usually needed to get black market goods, typically paid in money laundered funds with a token real purchase at the store transmitted to the person to cover the acquisition, White Tiger Chinese, or by purchase of off-shelf goods, White Tiger Russian. Men in Black. History. First created in the 50s, this group is the brainchild of Agent Bald Eagle and his son, Agent False Eagle, Agent Z, Agent Michelangelo. Their first attempt is in New Zealand, but fails as the subordinates rebel and fully merge with New Zealand's Secret Intelligence Service. The next attempt is domestic in brokering contracts with Soviet mafia groups to aid insertions of NATO personnel. The Men in Black assume control in the USA of all cover-up operations to maintain the secrecy of mafia presences required as a partial payment for clandestine services in Stalinist Soviet Union. The group separates more and more from its CIA roots over the decades, aided by both Agent False Eagle's and Agent Bald Eagle's Soviet KGB contracts. By the time my dad encounters the group during anti-communist combat in Toronto in 1970-76, the group is a paramilitary group only loosely connected to the CIA, with extensive independent underworld connections. In 1975, Agent False Eagle's lover, Agent White Tiger, is captured by Canadian authorities and deported to the Soviet Union. He forms the White Tiger Russian Mafia in what starts as a master-slave relationship with Agent False Eagle that becomes bidirectional slavery over time. The White Tiger group expands rapidly with Men in Black help, utilizing Father's Nazi network contacts as a foundation. During this period, Men in Black establish a dominant presence in Canada, particularly with the biker gangs of Quebec, along with the skinheads in the United States. From the late 70s to the mid-80s, Agent White Tiger goes fully rogue, spoon-feeding CIA and NATO agents to the KGB as he is able, seizing and killing the Soviet Union with the power he gains from it, transferring the agents captured to Agent Michelangelo's control when they return as double agents. Combined with Agent Michelangelo's and his father's Nazi and Soviet KGB contracts, they frequently disrupt and take control of KGB networks as exclusively Men in Black resources. Agent White Tiger and Agent False Eagle establish a slave trading relationship during this time, where intelligence agents and assets are sold to Agent False Eagle, and the rest become White Tiger's property. Organizational structure. The Men in Black is heavily dependent on its leader, Agent Michelangelo, and Agent Z. This identity is frequently usurped by his father, rendering the identity almost as much the father as the son. Each maintain a rigid, micromanaged system where many details, even at a surprisingly low level, are handled by the absolute top of the organization. Underneath these two people are four lieutenants. Lieutenant J and Lieutenant B control organized crime-affiliated aspects of the organization, with Agent White Spider and Agent Hammer controlling agent and intelligence-affiliated members. Money-making is primarily handled directly by Agent Michelangelo. Agent Class Agent Provocateurs. The agency is most heavily connected to the CIA, pulling the majority of its open agent members from this group. However, through personal contacts and extensive seizure of KGB agents, double agents and otherwise, the Men in Black have extensive mole presence in most agencies. The U.S. domestic scene, the group is open in many areas, typically those with a majority of the local population with a family member that is a full CIA agent. As Agent Z controls all agent organized crime policing in the area, enforcing his protection with extensive penetration of the FBI and other groups by KGB-linked personnel, now unmade, he is the only source of effective protection against organized crime strikes of other groups against these CIA family members in the USA. This gives an immense power base, even voting base within the USA, linking heavily with support staff members in the USA. These agents form a de facto intelligence outsourcing business of which the U.S. is the primary but not only patron. Typical operations are expensive smash-and-grab operations involving targeted strikes on specific targets, where nearly all funds are redistributed by the leadership. Some of the members become agents, furthering Men in Black penetration. The vast majority of operations, however, are cover-ups. Suppression of specific information in a specific group or area. Either Agent Z or Agent Hammer construct a conspiracy to conceal the target information, identifying individuals to suborn, evidence to tamper with or seize, and appropriate cover news and rumors to distribute to discredit and marginalize those distributing information purchased to be suppressed. These actions can be performed by the purchasing agents, but can also be either replaced or supplemented with Men in Black personnel, typically at extravagant rates. Agents are maintained in a state of near perpetual poverty. Their power is almost inversely proportional to the amount of income they have access to. While nearly every tech toy might be in their back pocket, an agent provocateur is usually on fraudulent Social Security disability, revocable by Agent Michelangelo at will, with very limited minimum wage work to supplement this income. Men in Black agents class support staff. As in the Men in Black movie, there exists a support network for the Men in Black agents, with the agents as much higher status position than support units. The greatest money makers are typically individuals that function as research slaves. They produce vast quantities of research that vastly exceed the relatively minor requirements of the place they are in, but must sell nearly everything they produce for little or no return. Typically, these individuals were rising stars in their field that had a dark secret. Seeing money, Agent Michelangelo approaches, blackmails, and permanently extorts this research, which he sells in the black market at nearly market rates to fund Men in Black operations. This includes traditional software and technology, but is far more commonly academic research. Entire disciplines in academia are effectively Agent Michelangelo hunting grounds, where he has sufficient penetration via his research slave to slave trade other researchers by holding their ability to publish in their discipline hostage until the requisite bribes have been paid. This group of individuals sells frequently to the White Tiger Chinese Mafia groups that must have a steady stream of high-quality research to maintain their position. There also exists a large body of affiliated individuals that have fallen under what is typically some form of blackmail. These individuals perform the economic aspects of the operation, enforcing blacklisting by the CIA domestically, enforcing blacklisting in general, and participating in White Tiger Chinese Mafia money laundering to transfer funds, mostly externally, but some internal transfers as well. They also serve as mole service providers to agents overseas, but this is more typically in association with an explicitly corrupted agent. Agent pay is frequently through these individuals in the form of heavily discounted goods and services. Direct pay is quite rare. Men in Black agency captured units. In the event that either Agent White Tiger or Agent Michelangelo entered combat with an espionage group, they would slave trade the prisoners that would survive the conflict, usually most of the enemy force. These individuals would then be blacklisted, then fully broken inside a carefully controlled environment, where either Agent Michelangelo or White Tiger had the capacity on hand to provide arbitrary cover-ups to handle any backsliding from slaves they had taken. Frequently, these captured individuals ended up with slave CIA contracts that legalized most of the activities to them in the U.S. in particular. These individuals often end up support personnel once broken properly, but sometimes graduate to full agent positions with extensive good behavior. My parents are among this group. Domestically, the cover-up authority of the Men in Black is combined with CIA family communities to slave trade enemy agents that enter the U.S., set up shop, get identified by locals, but do not independently attract attention from FBI officials. They are treated as agents captured in battle and slowly broken into support positions within the United States. Men in Black organized crime units. Frequently, Agent Michelangelo does not keep his organized crime units, preferring to slave trade them and sell them to Agent White Tiger. However, he does maintain organized crime units, particularly those with CIA or other agency connections, within his sphere of influence. When slave trading in the U.S. in particular, the Men in Black will usually sell agent candidates acquired into one of these agency-affiliated organized crime groups. These groups usually contain the CIA torturers that the Men in Black utilize to maintain discipline in the organization. Occasionally, foreign torturers are used, but usually they are on contract, not in the organization. Recently, the Men in Black has trying to maintain organized crime infrastructure by seizing control of White Tiger groups orphaned by rollbacks of their presence in the USA, providing a level of non-agency-driven firepower and money generation that is not present in the organization before this date. Beyond the agent groups, Men in Black maintain a strong relationship with the skinheads in the U.S., frequently hiding agents in them when the attacks in the area destroy his usual defenses for his full agents. It is unclear how much further the financial arrangements are between these two groups. In Canada, Agent Michelangelo also has extensive contacts and control over the biker gangs of Canada, especially those based in Montreal, a city he has heavily penetrated. The groups adopt the Men in Black ethics in their conduct of criminal activity. Strict one-time choice to associate with evil, followed by permanent irrevocable membership that makes one eligible to be target arbitrary evil with little recourse. Men in Black values. If this organization had a motto, it would be, "Get the job done." The ethic is on display in the Men in Black movies, essentially documentaries with limited coloring, as the author is a fan of the organization. In the agent class, agents are prized for their ability to take whatever they truly need, but not more. Agents answer to Agent Michelangelo for taking more than was needed. They are also there to preserve the peace. The only true moral or value of the group holds as a uniform absolute across all groups of the agency. Many are also moralistic, believing the men in black are engaged in a massive war in the USA to defend her against mobsters and other enemies. I should note that this is in addition to the information, especially statements about morality. They're not present in my original content. In general, there is a surface adherence to the standards of ethical behavior compatible with most moderates in the USA, no matter how badly the group behaves in practice. This leads to some very unusual decisions in how to respond to attacks within the organization. Attacks on the person in the organization performing evil are almost encouraged, even if the actions are contractual obligations personally required by Agent Michelangelo. The severity of the response, as with most groups, is commensurate with the amount of money or the action cost or gained. If an unauthorized action makes money, it may even be ignored. If it costs a contract but results in punishment of an evil act, it is rewarded in an evil fashion. The individual gets a pedestal, openly pushed into the spotlight to glorify the person for their heroic attack on evil that caused so much damage to the money supply of the organization they are in. At the same time, Agent Michelangelo releases his cover-up and propaganda machines to rip the person down from the pedestal. Typically, blackmail, if it exists, is released. It is extremely rare that the men in black lack the means to destroy the reputation of a glorified person in a way to make them regret performing the action against another. In addition to selling stolen technology and agent services, the original charter of the Men in Black authorized them to make arbitrary actions to maintain treaties of limited takedowns of certain mobster groups in the United States. Over the years, this has resulted in the practice of actively slave trading on participants in any organized crime incident that requires a cover-up. This practice is now enshrined in domestic Men in Black cover-ups, where ownership of those disrupting secrecy are Men in Black property are the spoils. The first Men in Black movies allude to this. This is why the girl is shot, but not those around her, as she is disrupting society by resisting her slave trading. The remainder are strictly within Mafia norms. Men in Black internal discipline. There are two primary methods that Agent Michelangelo maintains his power to control the Men in Black. It is his organization and will likely disintegrate at time of his death. He can utilize his group's cover-up capabilities to destroy any aspect of the deviant individual. Also, Agent Michelangelo has extensive access to any CIA poison kit, including many of the agency's poisoners, for targeting those that acquire his wrath. The prime aim to construct his conspiracies to destroy the lives in the required degree of those that have offended him, whether by attacking him or refusing to perform a service when requested. Utilizing extensive experience, my own father and himself, arbitrary destruction of nearly any aspect of a person's life is possible. The most typical target of this method is blacklisting. The poisoners used to have complete immunity to prosecution in the U.S. and near immunity elsewhere, Canada being an exception. They would enter a building and set up an aerosol device in the home or workplace, usually in a ventilation shaft of the building. Utilizing remote release mechanisms, the poisons are released into the air. The most recent generations of military poisons are not in this toolkit, but anything present at least as recent as the mid-80s is available in quantity. Like White Tiger, the Men in Black can issue permanent punishments and will maintain any White Tiger Chinese Mafia stone as if it were theirs. Permanent punishments are rare and require a fairly serious offense, usually issued by Agent Michelangelo personally. Most of these include a mechanism for utilizing for Men in Black profit. For instance, combining a network diabetes meter with an earpiece so agents can get instant feedback on how much trouble they are in via a fixed sugar reading, combined with instructions on what White Tiger interpretations of what food controls will appease those that require suffering of the agent being permanently punished with a fake diabetes. Black money laundering traditions. The Men in Black utilize the White Tiger system of exceptionally high or low payments to transmit money to those that are owned. Unlike the White Tiger system, it is common for those receiving the funds to have no control whatever over what kind of discounts they receive. Getting discounts on what one does not want does not mean the money was not paid, even if the new price was still higher than what the person would have bought the goods for. Money to the members of the organization is fairly rare to begin with. Forgiveness for not making bills or making them late is the most common form of money laundering. Individuals that are chronic abusers of this system, whether because of Agent Michelangelo's actions or not, are processed through the mental health system and are expected to perform the most dangerous internal assignments or be thrown into starvation and homelessness. Men in Black domination patterns. Typically, Men in Black follow the same practices as the White Tiger Chinese Mafia, own the medical and the police, and then work outward from there. However, this typically happens when the group is seizing from a rival organized crime family, whom typically has already secured these individuals. When targeting individuals in a non-mafia area, the group is highly dynamic, typically minimalist in seizing resources, and so focused on the cover-up to prevent disclosure of the operation that they often skip on avenues of attack for ease of control of the story afterwards. Lieutenant J is far less conservative in this regard. Slavery regulations. Slavery in the Men in Black comes in two forms. The first slavery is via acquisition from another group. In this case, the person is left in the original circumstance with little modification other than occasional Men in Black orders, possibly through the existing structure if there is not an additional tie, such as a Men in Black family member, justifying direct control on top of control by an owner. The other is clandestine slavery. This process makes the entity an agent, then permanently takes away all rights through agent disciplinary procedures fixed by the Men in Black members. The individual then has control of the agent contract sold to a White Tiger-based ally within the force to control and delivers orders to the recently slave-traded person. This is most common for captured forces and for individuals picked up as spoils in a cover-up operation.